Hey friends, Powwow guy Rob Phoenix here. Just kind of felt like talking to you guys because a couple days ago I did a video about this box of like awesome books that Powwow friend sent to me. And the past few days I've been looking really through this copy of Albertus Magnus. Now, the inscription on the inside cover says 1885, but then tonight I found on the back cover there's an inscription that says 1845. That means that this copy is approximately, well, if 1845 was the year it was printed, that means that this copy is approximately 180 years old. So what we're talking about here is a grimoire of Christian magic that is approximately 180 years old. This is the tradition of powwow. Powwowing has brought folk magic to the United States, like the Long Lost Friend, written in 1819 here in Reading, Pennsylvania, just a couple miles up the road, was literally the very first American grimoire, and it was grimoire of Christian folk magic. So the history of folk magic here in the United States is one of Christian folk magic, powwow being one of the first documented, the first grimoires here in the United States. So we have grimoires, we're connected to grimoires that go back to like the 1600s. We can trace our roots reliably back to like the medieval Catholicism. And no other tradition can say the same thing. So when we're talking about powwow, when we're talking about the tradition of powwow, we're talking about something very historic, something very old, something very ingrained within the culture of the Pennsylvania Dutch people. We're not talking about Odinism or Thor and Zeus and all that bullshit. That's nonsense. That's all modern crap made up by neo-pagans. It started with the Nazi movement and it became popular in the 1990s. We're not talking about neo-paganism, okay? That stuff's crap. We're talking about actual historical folk traditions found within the Pennsylvania German culture, and from our forebearers. Like my ancestors came largely from Austria, also Germany, and from Ireland. But they were all Christian. You know, they weren't worshiping Thor and Zeus and all that bullshit. That stuff's modern and nonsensical, and it has its roots in Hitler and the Nazi and the Third Reich. I hate that crap. So anyway, just having books like this in our possession, like nobody else has this stuff. So we have, you know, I'm holding in my hand a book that's at least 180 years old. And this is the history. This is the charms, cures, prescriptions, spells, in the Brocker tradition, in the Pennsylvania Dutch tradition of powwowing. It's old. It's as old as our culture. It's as old as our like ancestors who came to this country looking for religious freedom, because if they weren't Catholic where they were, then they were persecuted. And my ancestors were German Reformed. All right, this is not about pagans and witches escaping, you know, the Christians and fleeing to America. That's bullshit. That's not real history. The real history is that it was during the Reformation. It was a lot. There was a lot going on, and those people needed to flee the tyranny of the Catholic Church. And so they came to Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania was this like awesome place of like Christian mysticism and all these like spiritual traditions that were welcomed here by William Penn. William Penn said, all those who believe in God and worship God the way they wish to will find freedom here in Pennsylvania. And so traditions like powwow took root, and we're still alive today, and we're still practicing, you know, our old folk methods of healing and farming and, you know, astrology and such with. But it's really cool to have a grimoire, this book at least 180 years old. And just looking through this now, because this is all written in High German, there's a lot I can't read. But there is a lot I can, because I've been training myself over the years to read some of these things. But I also have an English translation of this, obviously. But it's fascinating, and it's so empowering to hold this book and wonder how many brokers in the past 180 years have held this book. How many people have healed with this book? How many of these charms and rituals have been recited by reading these pages? And that is fascinating to me. And just to feel the history, just to hold this book and feel almost 200 years of history and power through this book. Words can't describe it. So I want you to understand that when, powwowing has real history. We have very long history. We have very deep traditions. We have very deep roots implanted in our state of Pennsylvania, in our community of the Pennsylvania Dutch. It's the real thing. It's the actual real thing. We have everything recorded in history, and there's so much power here and so much history. And when I am trying for clients, when I am working a ritual or doing a charm or reciting a prayer, I feel the weight of all of that has come before me. I feel all of that. I feel that I am tapping into something that is so deeply embedded into our culture and our history and our religion, our Christianity. There's just so much power to it, and nothing else compares to it. So anyway, that's what I had to say tonight. Take it as you will. When you're passionate about something and you're holding in your hand a piece of its history, nothing compares to that. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, so don't listen to it. Powwow Brockerai does have real history, and it's deep, and it has deep roots in our community and our religion, our Christian, the Christian church. So there we go. I'm very passionate about that. That's all I have for tonight. Love you guys. God bless you. And